All right, let's talk about getting your hands dirty, specifically just working with your hands. Okay, so no silly intro or anything like that. Let's just dive right into it. Why should you get your hands dirty at least from time to time? Like not every single day. I'm not saying that you got to go and just build a bunch of shit all the time every day. No, like just time to time. I'm going to talk from personal experience. I'm not someone who is always getting their hands dirty. I'm not saying that like I'm like a full-time mechanic or anything. But basically, I think the point of doing this in the first place is just to break your routine. When you get your hands dirty, you can also learn new things, valuable skills, and not only that, but you just feel like prideful and accomplished when you work with your hands and you build something, or not even to build something, but even if you just repair something or tinker with it, understand how things work, it's very rewarding. Like for example, I know a lot about things that you just wouldn't really think about. Like I know how to build a PC, I know how to work on cars, I know how to repair very basic electronics. Like there's just all these things that I've learned just from experience and just messing around and playing around. So I'm just gonna use like a recent example of mine. Basically, my car needed a tune-up. I needed to swap my tires because here in Canada, we actually have two sets of tires, one for summer, one for winter, because of how bad the roads are. I needed to swap the tires. I needed to do an oil change because it's been a while. It's been like 10 months. I'm way overdue. And I needed to change my brakes because they were squeaking and they're really mushy. And some other small things here and there, like I did like my cabin air filter, I did some tune-up, like I fixed my windows because they were kind of moving slow, so I kind of greased them up, you know, just little things like this. But the pads and rotors were the biggest job because if anybody here, I know this is going to be really specific, but if you ever worked on brakes, there's these things called these little rotor screws, and basically those things like rust weld and there is no way to get them out besides using like an air hammer or just straight up drilling it out, and I had to drill it out. I have never drilled out a rusted bolt before, but it was kind of an interesting experience. It worked out, but okay. Now, even just the way I'm talking about it, I'm gonna slow myself down here because I'm probably talking about too much shit that you don't care about or even know about. It was rewarding. It was satisfying. It was a lot of fun even too. Like it took me like 6 hours to do it. Like not just the brakes, it took me 6 hours to do everything, like tire swap, oil, everything. But I just decided, you know what, let's just get it all done. It's gonna be kind of a pain, but the reward will be super worth it. And it was. I still feel accomplished, and I did this like days ago. Now, it doesn't have to be just working on cars. It can be working on anything really, like mechanically or just crafts, hobbies, anything like that. Basically just like tinkering, repairing, anything like this where you just got to work with your hands and you just have to kind of think about it. It's almost like it's like a puzzle. Like you have to use your mind, but not just your mind, but you also have to just put the work in. Like, okay, I'm a software developer. That's what I do for my day job. I work with code. I'm using a lot of mental work, but I'm just not working with my hands. I don't consider typing working with your hands. That's not what I mean by this. I'm talking about like physically like grabbing something that's malleable and that you can take apart or something, or that's what I mean by getting your hands dirty. I'm not saying you actually have to physically get them dirty, you know, like go shovel shit or work on, you know, cars, because cars are pretty nasty. No. Like I said, it can be a more mechanically inclined task like changing your brakes, or it can be something else entirely like putting together minifigurines or even just building a PC, or maybe you want to change out your CPU in your PC, you want to upgrade it. It's good to know how to do it yourself. It's not hard. You don't need any special tools. Really, it's just ending up with something new that requires some sort of physical effort, like using your hands. This is where I also count tinkering because, you know, even if you don't have like an end goal, like maybe you just want to disassemble something, just see how it works and put it back together. That's amazing. That's still getting your hands dirty, and I think you can learn a lot just from doing that. Like maybe you just open the hood of your car and you just clean the mass airflow sensor so that your intake works better, and then from there you learn how an intake works and how the car intakes air. And okay, enough car stuff. I'm gonna cut myself there. Too much car stuff. Okay, just maybe one more car thing. Maybe your windshield fluid light came on and you need to add a windshield fluid. I hope you know how to do this, but maybe just look up a tutorial. Okay, look for the little cap that has like, you know, like the windshield icon or whatever. Open the cap up, put the windshield fluid in there, close it, done. Like, it's a simple thing, but what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to do some crazy job that takes multiple hours. Even just little things like this, that counts too, especially if you're someone who never works with their hands. No matter how big or small the task is, you're gonna feel accomplished. If you have never filled your own windshield fluid in your car and you do it for the first time, you're gonna feel great. Even if it's such a simple task, like everybody's got to start somewhere. I remember when I swapped my tires for the first time by myself, I felt so good, and now it's just something I do twice a year. Now just quickly back to my brake job that I was talking about. Yeah, it took me 6 hours and my knees and back were killing me for the day after and after I did the job. But I have a sense of pride knowing that I took care of my car by myself. I didn't just pay some professional to do it for me. I mean, I took it into my own hands. I bought all the parts and I did it all myself. And of course, because I did it myself, I saved hundreds of dollars. And okay, yeah, I can afford to give it to a mechanic and he can do it for me, but the thing is, ironically, he probably would have done a nice job because it's not his car. Like, yeah, he'll do it right, but maybe he won't take that little extra care to do things here and there. But that's where I can take pride in knowing that I did it right and I did it good. I mean, my brakes are still on, my car still stops, so I know I did it right. And that sense of pride, you just can't take that away from me. If you don't do it yourself, you'll just never learn. Not only that, but just on the topic of paying someone, yeah, you can always pay someone to do something for you, but then you'll never learn and you'll never just feel accomplished about it. If I paid somebody to do my brakes for me, I wouldn't really feel much about it. I'd just be like, oh, I'm just paying another professional to do something for me. I wouldn't really learn anything. I wouldn't learn anything at all, actually, and I'd just be down a few $100 more. Now, on the topic of just repairing, replacing, tinkering, whatever you're doing with your hands, I want to talk about learning, because that's one thing that you really get when you do something with your own hands and you get your hands dirty. Here's a recent example that's kind of weird, but I think it's good to point out. If you have a Switch, then you know about the Joy-Con drift issue that plagues them. They're just prone to drifting no matter how good you take care of them. They can start drifting right out of the box, they can drift 3 years later. Either way, they're gonna drift. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically the sticks on the Joy-Cons, they will just lean in one direction even if you're not touching it, and basically they become unusable. It's not a good experience. So I figured, I just want to mod it. Like, I just want to put in these Hall effect sticks. Basically, they use magnets and that's how they don't drift. So in theory, they'll never drift. And I decided, okay, I'll just replace them. I've never worked on small electronics before until then, and it was fun. Basically, I just wanted to mod them for fun, and now I know my sticks will never drift even years later. And, bonus, I was able to use the old sticks and fix my friends' Joy-Cons who were already drifting. It's a win-win. Now, I'm talking about a very niche thing here, but just bear with me, I'll get to the point. Basically, I was able to use my new skill to not only make my Joy-Cons better, but I could also take the knowledge that I learned and replace my friends' Joy-Cons and using my knowledge to help other people in my life. It truly is a win-win to get your hands dirty, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. You can use your skills to help other people. And that, I think, is just a huge thing in itself. I've used my car knowledge to help people figure out problems on their own cars, and it doesn't cost me anything. It just takes a little bit of Googling and just diagnosing. Okay, sorry, but back to cars. I've been working on cars since high school. I'm not someone who's been working on cars since they were like a kid. I'm not like that mechanically inclined, but I've learned quite a bit over the years, and I do probably like 80% of the repairs by myself on my own cars. But some of the best moments I had from high school were when me and my friends would get together, we would work on each other's cars, and even though we had no money and could barely fix it, we did what we could with what we had at the time, and it was just a blast. We ordered some food, chill, hang out, listen to music, talk. It was such a great time. I miss those days, man. But you can use these skills and you can use it as a bonding experience too, just like I did with my friends in high school. We would hang out and we would just chill and work on cars, but it was an opportunity to bond, and those were really good times. Like, I'm never gonna forget those. But I hope you get the point where learning new things and getting your hands dirty can directly and indirectly help people with their own problems, because you have the knowledge. All you gotta do is share it and you can make other people's lives better. All this from getting your hands dirty. Crazy, right? Anyways, now that you get the point of working with your hands and getting your hands dirty, I hope you can pick up a new hobby or even dust off that old one that you've been putting aside because you just don't have time for it anymore, but maybe you do got time for it. There's just so much value in getting your hands dirty, like I mentioned in this entire video, and I think you should do it. Maybe use something on your car as an example. I don't know, this is for people who want to work on cars, but maybe you need to do an oil change. Why don't you try yourself? Oil changes are pretty cheap. You'll never regret learning. That's one thing that's for sure. Alright, now, drop a like and a sub.